Hello fans and friends, welcome to another video. My name's Keir Smith. Today's video, I suppose, is a bit of a reaction to the Rolling Stone list of the 200 greatest singers of all time. And you have to take these lists with more than a pinch of salt, because any list of the 200 greatest singers of all time has to include at least a few of the following that weren't in the list: David Lee Roth, Sting, Jim Morrison, Don Henley, Billy Joel, Dave Gahan, Lane Staley, Elvis Costello. I mean, a few of them had to be in there, right? And of course, it's all subjective. In Rolling Stone's list, the top 10 had 5 women and 5 men. We had Beyonce, Mariah Carey, Billie Holiday, Whitney Houston, and Aretha Franklin, who got the #1 spot. And we've got Al Green, Otis Redding, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Sam Cooke. And all 10 of them artists, no doubt, have big voices. And I can name songs by all 10 of them artists that I really enjoy. But bar Stevie Wonder, I quite like him. I don't really listen to the other 9. I'm a classic rock guy. And what makes a great singer? Simply, it's whatever you think it is. But I think one thing we can all agree on is it's how you connect with that voice. It's how it makes me, you, the listener, feel, and what you take from it when a certain line is sung or a particular phrase. It's about the emotional connection, isn't it? So my list is largely based on that. Not every one of the singers in my list is a great singer, but one thing they all have in common is they move me in ways that I sometimes find hard to explain, but I'll do my best. And I didn't want to put a list of 200 together, so I've done a top 10 list instead. And as I said, this is all subjective, but here's my top 10 favourite singers of all time. Not necessarily the greatest, not necessarily the best, although my #1 choice is the greatest singer of all time. I'm certain of it. And for those who don't know, I'll also give you 3 songs by each of the 10 artists that showcase their wonderful vocal talents. So with all that said, let's get to the list. At number 10, George Michael. At its best, his voice is soft and smooth like chocolate, and it makes me melt. But he's a very versatile singer with a big range, whether it's pop, rock, jazz, soul, electronica. He's got such a rich voice, and he delivers his vocals in such a heartfelt and passionate way. The more I listen to George Michael, the more I like his voice. He was so good. And 3 songs that I love to hear George Michael sing: The Edge of Heaven, Jesus to a Child, and You Have Been Loved. From the sublime to the ridiculous, at number 9 is Roger Waters. And I'll be the first to admit that Roger Waters does not have a good singing voice. In fact, it's a very harsh sounding voice. But what Roger Waters does for me is he puts his frustration, his pain, anguish, at times he sounds painfully tortured, but he delivers these powerful and emotive vocals that certainly resonates with me. And the way he expresses his feelings, he's not lying, it's real, and I connect with that. It's very special to me. And 3 songs from Roger Waters: Nobody Home, The Final Cut, and Too Much Rope. At number 8 is David Bowie, who is a remarkable singer. He's as confident, stylish, and flamboyant with his voice as he is with all of the other things that make up his art. And he's shifted through the gears of pop, rock, glam, soul, electronica, drum and bass. And he delivered a huge range of stunning vocals, going from a very deep register to a very impressive falsetto. He certainly grabs the attention of my ears, and he's a truly underrated singer in my book. And 3 songs from David Bowie: Wild is the Wind, Teenage Wildlife, and Cat People, Putting Out Fire. At number 7 is Morrissey, a unique voice, mannered and controlled. He's a modern day crooner and an unconventional singer in many ways, but it's what he sings and how he sings it with the moans, groans and yodeling. He's delighted us Smiths fans and fans of his solo work for over 40 years now. We know his worth and his value. He's a great vocalist. His voice is a treasure to me, and it always will be. And 3 songs from Morrissey: I Know It's Over, The Boy with the Thorn in His Side and Suede Head. At number 6 is Kurt Cobain, and it's that primal scream that comes straight from his gut and gets me in mine. You better believe he meant it. I feel supercharged when I listen to Kurt. And on the other side of the coin, he draws me in a very intimate way. I love his gravelly tones, and simply talking about Kurt's voice gives me goosebumps. He was the voice of a generation and the first rock star I truly fell in love with. Many singers have tried to imitate him, and many singers will continue to try, but he's one of a kind. And 3 songs from Kurt: Beeswax, Milk It and Where Did You Sleep Last Night. At number 5 is George Harrison. George had a thin voice. He wasn't a confident singer, but he sang with soul and meaning. There's nothing wasted, there's no fat. He doesn't oversing. He delivered a true vocal with understated beauty that shines through on many a Beatles song, and even more so in his solo years. When George sings, I feel connected in a very intimate way. I'm always listening to George. George's voice is ingrained in my soul. I love it. And 3 songs from the great George Harrison: Here Comes the Sun, Who Can See It, and That's What It Takes. At number 4 is Michael Jackson. He had an incredible voice, the most fluid of singers. He had this great ability to hold notes for long periods, high pitch, low register, and everything in between. It was like vocal gymnastics. He could do the lot. And with all the added grunts, whoops and hee-hees, no one could sing like Jacko. From his first songs in the Jackson 5 to his last songs as a solo artist, he was truly masterful. On Rolling Stone's list, they had Michael Jackson, wait for it, at number 86. When I said take it with a pinch of salt, I had handfuls of salt. 3 songs from Michael Jackson: Off the Wall, Human Nature and Dirty Diana. At number 3 is Mick Jagger. He's a cool rhythm and blues singer, he's a mighty fine country singer, and he's a great rock and roll singer. And ballads, he's got that more than covered too. I love Mick's voice. He's got that roar, he's got that power, and a really good falsetto too. Whatever genre, he simply slips into character and bends and shapes those lips to deliver fantastic vocals every single time. 3 songs from Mick: Moonlight Mile, Miss You and Start Me Up. At number 2 is John Lennon. Be Still My Beating Heart. What a voice. It's a strong voice, an authoritative voice with power and great control. It's so emotive. It's a voice driven by emotion. It's vulnerable. It's the real deal. John was clearly a great rock and roll singer, but he sings my favourite ballads too and has the ability to break me when he does. I've cried listening to John Lennon. I get overwhelmed listening to John Lennon, and he wanted to do that. He wanted to make that connection with his voice and his music, and I reckon he did. His voice has such a beautiful tone, and to think he didn't like the sound of his own voice, that's madness. 3 songs from John Lennon: I'll Be Back, Julia and Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out. My number 1 is Paul McCartney. It's the voice that's always in my head. It's the voice I love the most. It's the voice that tells me it will be all right. It's the voice that makes me dance and burst into song in a giddy, happy and childlike way. Paul McCartney is the truest singer. He sings the song and he gives it everything he's got. He can be so excitable with his voice and so precise and controlled. He can scream and roar out rock and roll, and he can sing the most pretty and beautiful ballads. And he adopts various twangs with his voice, and his vocal phrases are so clever. He's covered so many styles, and he simply shapes his voice to whatever the song requires, and it's always for the betterment of it too. Paul McCartney is the most versatile of singers, and his high harmony is out of this world. He is the ultimate songbird, with the cleanest set of pipes in the classic rock era, bar none. Paul's voice has special powers, and I once explained this to my long-suffering girlfriend, and I said, Paul's voice is like a warm blanket to me. It makes me feel warm, content, happy, and that everything will be all right. On the day that I die, I'd like jokes to be told, and I'd like to be listening to Paul McCartney. And because it's Paul, and because he is the greatest singer of all time, and because he's blessed my life with so much joy, I'm going to give you 4 songs. The Long and Winding Road, Monkberry Moon Delight, Cafe on the Left Bank, and My Brave Face. So there you have it. That was my list of my 10 favourite singers, and I really enjoyed putting this video together. It was a real labour of love. It's biased, it's ultra personal, but I really love those 10 guys. And I'd love to know who your favourite singers are. Give me your top 3, 5 or 10. But more importantly, tell me why they're your favourite singer and what it means when they sing to you. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it the thumbs up if you did. Please subscribe to the channel. There'll be lots more to come. Peace and love. See you next time.